Son got 3 girls pregnant but refuses to be in their lives because he doesn't want to be a dad. Now he's crying and begging me to bail him out. I have 2 children, George and Gabrielle. Gabrielle recently got engaged, and I am helping her plan the wedding in my spare time. The entire family is very excited about it, except for George. George recently divorced his wife of 7 years, after he said the spark had gone out. They have twins, 6, and are trying to set up a healthy co-parenting relationship. Susanna is a great mother to my grandkids, and I was disappointed in George for giving up so fast on their relationship without even trying couples counseling. But it wasn't my business or place to say anything. The drama started when George brought his new girlfriend to dinner at my house. He met his girlfriend Bethany through a work colleague and they have been dating for 4 months. At dinner, Gabrielle and I were discussing flower arrangements and Bethany felt the need to ask George if he'd ever marry again. George coughed before replying that he'd have to think about it, which Bethany seemed to deflate at. Well, this caused the two to cry about how she wants mommy and daddy to love each other again. George and Bethany just sat there while my granddaughter screamed. I pulled George aside and asked if he was sure about Bethany, which he told me was none of my business. I told him it was my business and he invited me into my home and my grandchildren's lives, since I've been caring for them in my spare time while he works. George got angry and said it was Gabrielle's fault for mentioning weddings in the first place. I told him to stop acting like a child and to be happy for his sister. Then Bethany felt the need to insert herself and tell me that she and George were together no matter how much I liked his ex-wife. After that, I was done with the conversation and asked them both to leave. George and Bethany stormed off, flipped me the bird, and left my grandchildren at my house at 7 p.m. I had to call Susanna to collect the children since they had school in the morning, and I was attending a cake tasting with Gabrielle the next day. I feel like I shouldn't have to tell my 31-year-old son to be happy for his sister or argue with a random woman whom I have never met before in my own home. So, am I the a-hole? Update 1. Bethany came to my house to apologize for how she acted at dinner last week. She told me that she was 2 months pregnant and George had broken up with her after she told him, because he has too much responsibility and doesn't want to be in the baby's life. I then spent the better part of 3 hours talking with Bethany about the baby and what she wants. She says she wants to keep the baby even if George refuses to be in its life, and I told her that I would help with childcare if she needs it since she doesn't have any family that lives nearby. Before I got angry with George, I thought I would call him and give him a chance to explain. George was angry that Bethany had shown up at my house and insisted that it wasn't his baby. I told him that he should get a paternity test and he asked me for $500 to cover it since he's struggling. I told George that he needed to figure it out himself since he was about to be a father of 3 and that he'd better step up and do right by his kids. George then hung up. Well, 2 hours later, his ex-wife called to say that George hadn't picked up the kids like he'd previously agreed to and that she could drop them off at my place because she had work. I agreed for her to drop Amy and Alice off and tried to call George again. I called 12 times, and they all went to voice messages. I don't know where George is and have called his place of employment to try to find out. However, they refused to tell me anything. I've agreed to watch Amy and Alice until Wednesday, and Susanna has reported this incident to CPS. I assume she plans to file for full custody, and I can't blame her. Right now I'm worried that George has run off somewhere or done something irresponsible.